This is CBN NewsWatch.
Welcome to CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. A surprise move Monday as the Trump administration takes another major U-turn on Israel. This one involves so-called Israeli settlements, with President Trump saying he's changing policy to right a historical wrong. Israelis describe the change as a milestone on their way to obtaining sovereignty in the biblical areas of Judea and Samaria. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced the reversal of the Obama-era policy.
After carefully studying all sides of the legal debate, this administration agrees with President Reagan. The establishment of Israeli civilian settlements in the West Bank is not, per se, inconsistent with international law.
CBN Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Alon Shavut. Tell us, Chris, where you're at right now. Describe it.
Well, as you say, Mark, we're in Alon Shavut, and this is one of the communities here in what the world calls the West Bank, and what people that read the Bible say is Judea and Samaria. We're standing actually on the roof of where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he spoke to the regional heads of many of these communities around here about this decision. In the background, you can probably see some of the more Jewish communities. And the people that have settled here, they don't look at this as a legal land. They look at this as biblical heartland of Israel from the Bible, Judea and Samaria. That's where we are right now. And that's why people here feel this decision is so significant, historic. Benjamin Netanyahu, in some of his comments, said this is correcting a historical wrong. And it's a huge deal for the state of Israel, for the Trump administration to make this announcement and really change decades of U.S. policy.
And Chris, what scriptures do some people refer to when they talk about the settlements in the West Bank or in Judea and Samaria?
Well, you can look at a lot of places, Mark. Specifically, you can look at Ezekiel chapter 36, where it says that the Jewish people will come back and they will rebuild their settlements, their homes. They will plant vines on the hillsides here in Samaria and Judea. And so those are the scriptures. But you could also go to other places like Jeremiah and see that the scriptures say that one day the Jewish people will come back from all over the world and resettle here. And that's why, as I said, this is why a lot of people here who come here and have a biblical worldview think this is so historic that the Trump administration will go ahead and do this.
How are Israelis themselves reacting to this, Chris?
Well, I think certainly the people here, and we've known many of the people here in this part of Israel, they think this is really a turning point, that the U.S. administration would really go counter to what the world is saying for decades. In fact, this sort of reverses a 1978 memorandum, a legal decision by the U.S. State Department that said this is, they think this is illegal under international law. But you can actually look beyond some of the decisions in international law. You could go back to the 1920 San Remo resolution, which really mandated that Britain, and this goes back almost 100 years, would actually make this a homeland for the Jewish people. But deeper than that, Mark, many of the people here are looking at the biblical reasons why this is so historic and why this makes such a difference to the state of Israel going forward.
And what about the Palestinians, Chris? What is their reaction to this?
Well, certainly their reaction is they condemn this move. There was a statement by Saeed Erekat, the spokesman for the Palestinian Authority, condemning this. I mean, I think universally on the Palestinian side, they would say this undermines a two-state solution. But for many of the people here think a two-state solution could have gone on if the Palestinians would ever allow Jews to live in a future Palestinian state. But I would say that the Palestinian Authority reaction will be very close to what you would hear probably from the European Union and other peoples in international forums that would say this undermines what people would see as a two-state solution. But I think Secretary of State Pompeo has said in the past, 25 years they've tried to implement the two-state solution. It hasn't worked, and I don't think they see this as an impediment to a two-state solution, but they see this as sort of correcting a historical wrong that the State Department has had for decades.
All right, our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you so much for your insights, Chris. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
At least 100 protesters in Hong Kong are still barricaded in one of the city's main universities. 600 protesters surrendered overnight. In the past 3 days, thousands of people have taken to the streets in an attempt to reach the pro-democracy protesters. This has prompted some of the most violent protests so far. Riot police have fired rubber bullets and tear gas. At least 200 people were hurt. Public impeachment hearings resumed today. 2 witnesses who listened in on the call where the president allegedly pressured Ukraine's president to announce investigations of his political rivals. They are the first 2 of 9 witnesses being called to testify before the House Intelligence Committee this week. President Trump says he is strongly considering testifying in the impeachment probe after an informal offer from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
The president could come right before the committee and speak all the truth that he wants if he wants to.
Last night, the president tweeted that the impeachment was always a planned coup and the radical Democrats will suffer in the polls in 2020. In other news, Chick-fil-A says it will no longer donate to organizations accused of anti-LGBTQ views. The company made the announcement on its blog saying instead of making donations to groups like the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and the Salvation Army, the company will focus on their initiative to nourish the potential in every child. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee tweeted about the move, saying in part, Chick-fil-A betrayed loyal customers, adding that he regretted believing the company would stay true to convictions of founder Truett Cathy. Coming up, CBN News heads to the Supreme Court. See our exclusive interview with Neil Gorsuch.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back to Newswatch. CBN News had a unique opportunity this week to go behind the scenes at the United States Supreme Court for an interview with Justice Neil Gorsuch. Our team in Washington is working on a story about Gorsuch's book, A Republic If You Can Keep It. Senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon also had an opportunity to talk to him about something personal, his faith.
You have led a storied career that has allowed you to be here as a justice on the Supreme Court. You are a husband, you are a father. Give us a sense of how your Christian faith sustains you.
Well, this is a very personal subject to me. And I have to say that there are certain moments in life when you feel the power of prayer around you. And for me, one of those moments was during the confirmation process. And I can't tell you how many cards, letters, notes, people coming up to me in the streets, in coffee houses, on airplanes. And they might say, I voted for this president. I didn't vote for this president. But they'd always say, I'm praying for you. And I wish you well. And I love our country. And I love our Constitution. And God bless you. And those moments meant more to me than I'll ever be able to express in words. There were points during that process where I was feeling pretty sorry for myself, Jennifer. And I had lost my anonymity completely. You don't realize what a gift that is till you lose it. Sitting in a restaurant and somebody's videotaping you slurping your noodles from across the restaurant. You know you've hit a new low when. And then I realized, as we all do, that when God takes something away from you, He often gives you something else in return if you just look for it hard enough. And what He gave me was an incredible gift. I get to witness now, every day, in countless ways, the goodness of the American people, the kindness, their love. And it touches me deeply. And I'll share one little quick story with you. I'm on an airplane from Denver to DC for the umpteenth time in the middle of the winter with walking pneumonia. And I'm feeling sorry for myself. And I'm seated next to an 8-year-old little girl. And her mother's somewhere else in the plane, for whatever reason. And we start hitting some serious turbulence. And this little girl leans over to me and says, would you mind holding my hand? And as a father, nothing more precious than that, right? So we held hands for 20 minutes till the turbulence cleared. And then she leaned over to me and said, now would you like to draw? And so we spent the next 2 hours in her coloring book, coloring. And I was completely anonymous for those 2.5 hours. And I came out of that plane ride so totally refreshed and renewed. And of course, we're walking down the gangplank, and her mother recognizes me. And we shake hands, and it's nice. 2 weeks later, I get a thank you note in the mail from the little girl saying, thank you for holding my hand during that bumpy ride. And it's a picture she's drawn for me of an airplane and 2 stick figures in front holding hands. And to me, that's what it's all about.
Boy, what a great story. The simplicity of life that can really just make things more real to us, that's for sure. Well, up next, see how millennials are changing the health industry. We'll be right back.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
On the home front, Tuesday morning at 10:30.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Thanks for staying with us. Most of us depend heavily on our computers to get through daily life, and this is especially true for young people. As CBN's health reporter Lori Johnson tells us, this trend also applies to medical care.
Research shows fewer millennials and Gen Xers are choosing primary care physicians in traditional doctor's offices and are instead opting for easier solutions to meet their medical needs.
Millennials, those ages 22 to 38, are set to become the largest living generation in the U.S. this year. Generation Z comprises the youngest adults, ages 18 to 21. Raised on the internet, these two consumer groups are used to getting food, clothes, whatever they want, super fast with just the touch of a finger without leaving their homes. So it may come as no surprise that millennials are nearly 3 times as likely to be dissatisfied with traditional in-person health care than their baby boomer grandparents, those age 55 and above. 16% of millennials cited issues with appointment times, compared to just 6% of boomers. Location is an even bigger problem. Nearly 1/4 of millennials don't like traveling to the doctor, compared to just 4% of boomers. As to the effectiveness of in-person medical care, 32% of Gen Zers felt dissatisfied, 12% of millennials, and just 4% of boomers. This is valuable information for healthcare providers trying to reach consumers looking for a different experience.
The key players in the industry are seeing the trend.
Enter Doctor on Demand, one of a growing number of telemedicine companies for people who want to visit with the doctor without the hassle of driving, parking, and sitting in a waiting room.
That population is saying, I want to see my doctor right away, on demand, and I want to do that from the comfort of my home.
Telemedicine does have its drawbacks.
Telemedicine relies on technology, which isn't always reliable. Plus, when doctors interact with patients on a screen, they can miss nonverbal cues they'd otherwise pick up touching them here in the exam room.
More invasive appointments, like a routine physical, require in-person treatment. However, many young people don't get regular physicals. Only about half of Gen Zers even have a primary care physician, compared to roughly 2/3 of millennials and 85% of baby boomers.
I like the idea of one person to tell whatever's wrong, and then from there we go from there.
The younger folks without a PCP who don't use telemedicine still have another option: urgent care facilities, which are booming in popularity largely because of their convenience. The number of visits increased 125% in the last decade. However, people with chronic or complicated medical conditions could be at a disadvantage because urgent care doctors often don't have access to the patient's medical records and aren't aware of their complete health history. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
A lot of interesting information there. You can see more stories about health and wellness on Healthy Living. It airs tonight at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. This week's program is all about Thanksgiving. It's an episode you don't want to miss. Stay with us. There is much more of CBN NewsWatch ahead.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern Gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel. Now available at cbnradio.com.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torresadillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
The death of a parent is devastating to a child. When Kara Belvin lost her mom at age 9, she felt completely alone. As she grew older, Kara realized thousands of other girls have suffered the same trauma. Now she's helping empower, support, and connect them to bring healing. Caitlin Burke brings us that story.
My mother's death really shaped every aspect of my life.
From the moment Kara Belvin's mom died from breast cancer, Kara's life became before and after. She went from student, friend, and a kid to the girl who'd lost her mother.
You are sort of living in a world that is going on as normal for everyone else, and you're trying to keep up with that. And yet you have this thing that makes you so incredibly different.
Kara says that while she had family support, she was craving something more.
I think ultimately what I was craving was, for someone to just say, it is survivable. because it's, just feels like a 1-ton brick on your chest that will never lift. And so that's hard, for any child, who's experienced a trauma. It's hard for them to see past that.
As an adult, Belvin met others who had lost their mothers, becoming for them a friend and mentor. Then she took it one step further, starting the organization Empower Her.
The nonprofit is modeled around the things that Kara felt like she needed most when her mom passed away: a strong female role model and the knowledge that she wasn't alone in her grief.
Empower Her currently serves more than 150 girls up to the age of 24. They participate in events like a Mother's Day retreat so that they can connect with one another, but they're also matched with a mentor.
When we have an event at Empower Her, the girls, get to stand around, look around the room, and realize they're not alone in their grief. And then the mentor program that we started is, designed to support the girl year-round, and promote positive growth in her grief journey.
Mentor Anne-Marie Leto, who lost her mom when she was 10 years old, found out about Kara's work in college.
I met Kara, and it was as if somebody was reading my mind. Everything that I had gone through, she had gone through, and now she wants to do something about it.
Anne-Marie joined the list of Empower Her mentors, expecting to be matched with a stranger who was going through the loss of her mom. Instead, she got Molly.
I actually was introduced to Molly's family when I was in high school. I was living in North Attleboro, Mass, and I had gotten in touch with Molly's mom, Britton, who had needed a babysitter. So Molly at the time was only 3 or 4 months old, and I was just a teenager. So I started babysitting Molly from when she was really little, and we grew a really close relationship.
About the same time that Anne-Marie started looking for a mentee with Empower Her, Molly's mom, Britton, got sick. Given their special relationship, Anne-Marie was able to make her a promise before she died.
I did tell her about Empower Her, and I told her that I'll always be by Molly's side, and I will always look out for Molly, and she also has younger sister Maddie, who was only 1 at the time.
Anne-Marie has kept her promise. Molly says the most valuable things that Anne-Marie provides are memories.
Like the memories that I didn't remember, kind of like the ones that I don't remember, like when I was really, really, really small.
Britton would always encourage people to go for it, encourage Molly to go for it. Molly's the only girl on an entire team of boys at hockey, and I just completely see Britton in all of that.
Molly's dad, Mike, says he wants his daughters to become strong women and recognize what they can offer because of this great loss.
My hope is that one day, she's going to be like Anne-Marie and be able to help another little girl that's in the same unfortunate situation.
These girls are at risk of, really poor choices and bad behavior. And so if, I'm trying to tell community members, maybe she's not as fine as you think she is. Maybe it's okay to ask her how she's doing, and it's okay to offer help, and maybe it's okay to talk about her loss. She's not going to be reminded of anything that she's not already thinking of, She'd prefer it over you whispering behind her back.
Is there anything that you do to get through the sad times? I just think of the memories, the happy ones.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Norwell, Massachusetts.
What a great program. That's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.